Sanderson. Chester Duraki. Ron Morgan.
Jim Ralston.
Chip Huzzy.
And we have a quorum, and the meeting is being recorded. All right, under appointments, we have Dawn Sawyer here for a request.
Yes, I'm requesting that we get permission again for the coming up 8th annual Chief Maloney Unity Run, which will be Sunday, April 28th, starting at Stratham at 11, and then first runner usually shows up here somewhere around 11:30 or so. And same as it's been every year, we'll have the beer tent and the band over here in the parking lot with the vendors, and then this finish line is right out front on Portsmouth Ave. So it's the same insurance company that we've used all these years. No significant changes.
Good. Been going very well for the last few,
Yeah.
since it started, actually, right?
Yeah, last year was a little low for us as far as the amount of money we made, but the weather it was so cold that day that literally people they finished and were out of here. So nobody stayed and nobody bought anything. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so hopefully it'll be a bright sunny day and
Good.
we'll get lots of people. So.
Any questions from the board? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve the request for the use of 1116 Town Square for the Chief Maloney Unity Run and post-race events on Sunday, April 28th, 2019.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You're on.
Thank you.
It's going around for the signatures.
Guess I'm muted.
Donna, you're gonna take that?
Yeah, we'll leave you a copy.
Yes, please. Send a
Is
copy
that
over to the town hall.
Is that open or?
I can do it for you.
Okay.
The sound it is open. My door.
Oh, but is the copy machine on?
What time does the race start, Don?
It starts at 11, the 11 in Stratham.
I just see people running by, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Top runners usually do it in about 32 or 3 minutes. So. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Don.
How are you?
Okay, the second appointment is with the Assistant Town Clerk regarding the town report cover. Amy.
Okay, we've got 3 pictures to choose from. Vaughn's idea was to put it out on the website to have residents send in pictures. So these are a few of what we've got. But they're pretty self-explanatory as to where they are.
Nice pictures.
We got a lot.
Yeah, I know. Okay, anybody have any ideas? Anything you like, anything that sticks out? I kind of like the 4-season type of thing.
I gotta agree with the 4 pictures here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Oh, I thought that was something different. I thought that was just
For the front cover? What do you think?
I was kind of
Being a
sure of the
connoisseur
shot
of
of
art.
the bay.
Yeah.
Well, the bay, we have done that one already once a few years ago. The bay was done at one point.
Okay. Chester, what do you think?
I like the one with the tree.
Chester's always got to be different, I'm telling you.
It's simple.
All right, so let's eliminate one of them then first.
Eliminate the bay, done already.
Okay, eliminate the base. So now it's down to the collage of 4 for the tree. I'm going to stick with the collage of 4.
I kind of like the, just the tree and the house, the
Okay,
gazebo, whatever.
all right. Chip,
I like the collage before.
well, you're going to be the tiebreaker.
So you should have spoke up first before we got out of the way with it.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
I don't have any strong feelings either way, but I happen to like the Collage of Four. Now, is there a difference in the cost of printing?
No, they're both could be color.
Okay,
And I think that this year they included it in the price.
okay, so the same cost.
Mhm.
I guess I would go with the Collage of Four.
Okay. I put it out to all the audience, but we've got a big schedule in front of us. Thank you, Amy. Okay, let's see. We have two public hearings here tonight. The first is a donation to the police department. And I'll ask Karen to explain.
This is a donation from Advanced Concrete Technologies of $1,000 to the police department to be used wherever they need it.
Okay, I will open the hearing to the public. If anybody has any comments, doesn't want to take the money? I didn't think I'd hear anybody that didn't want to take it. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Move to approve the $1,000 donation to the Greenland Police Department from Advanced Concrete Technologies, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, the second hearing is the first of two hearings regarding the E911 address changes. A fun thing we've been going through for the last few years. Every resident who is affected by the changes has been mailed a packet citing the appropriate RSAs and explaining the reasons for the changes. We have with us the 911 committee to answer any questions that any residents might have. I will turn this over to Tara just briefly, if you can just say a few things, and I'll open the hearing for public.
Absolutely. So those of you who don't know, we've been going through 911 changes in the town for about 4 years, kind of off and on, doing it kind of slowly, based on 911 standardizations that are accepted across the country. So some of those standardizations we started with were, more than 2, or I should say 3 or more homes off of one driveway. So because that can be confusing, we named those as roads. Some numbering that are off, so having like 15 across from number 52 would be confusing. So numbering can be off. We had a bunch of roads that had bay in them, an excess number of roads with bay in them. So it can be confusing. Are we going to Bay Ridge or Bay View or Bay, So we've been addressing some of those. Tonight we're here about the Maple Drive area. Maple Drive Extension was the first real issue. You can't have road names that are alike, so the extension really isn't something that was acceptable 911 wise. And then obviously they had added X's to the addresses in order to try and delineate those, which wasn't real good. So as we looked at it, as we looked at it with 911, who tells us the standardizations, and then I talked about it with some residents that have lived here their whole lives, it makes the most sense, the logical sense, that when you turn onto Maple Drive, that you wouldn't assume that that whole circle is Maple Drive. So to make it the 2 roads. And then obviously the numbering goes with that in 50-foot increments is what they try and number. So that's why it doesn't go that 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. So that if years from now there's further development, I'm not saying that there's going to be development anytime soon, but in 50 years, I don't know if they're going to put them every 200 feet. So that leaves enough room for enough numbers so that if they add any type of other residences or duplexes or whatever, there would be enough numbers in there to address that. But Kenny Lynn is here from 911 that can answer any of the questions about specifically the standards and why they came to be, or I can answer questions about why the recommendations are the way they are.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing, but do me a favor, please state your name and address when you speak, before you speak. Okay.
Karen Bailey, I'm at 6 Maple Drive. Could you explain to me what we're looking at before we start to talk about it?
Yep, so I assume that everyone recognizes that this is Maple Drive and Maple Drive Extension and the loop. In the black is the current numbers, and in the purple or pink or red, whatever it's supposed to be, are the proposed numbers. Now, the reason that there's two different colors is this road would be one road, and then this would have a secondary name. And the road names are up to the people who live there, whatever you guys think is appropriate, as long as it doesn't, it's not too close to one of the other names in town, obviously.
My name's Ed Humbrecht. I'm at 8 Maple Drive. I have two questions. The first one is, why would you inconvenience 40-something homes opposed to 4 homes? Because the entire loop is Maple Drive now, and you're asking 40 homes to rename opposed to 4 homes. So that's my first question. And then my second question is from the aspect of renaming, let's say, Maple Drive, and that this is 6 and this is 8. 6 owns all the way up to the street. So I see it as 50-foot increments. 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't understand why they'd be renamed if you went by 50-foot increments like the law says. So those are my two questions.
The 50-foot increments is pretty easy. It goes 50-foot increments to the driveway. The driveway is your mark. So if you do 50-foot increments, you get up to number 18.
Yeah, but the problem is that the property line, this starts here because this home here, the the Stefanos, they own this portion here.
It's not about property lines. It's about the road to your driveway.
Yeah, from the distance from the beginning of the road to where the driveway location is.
But there wouldn't be any homes there.
It can possibly be subdivided 50 years from now. You don't know what's going to happen
Right.
50 years
If
from
this
now.
went away and they built, homes, anything's possible. The idea is there's enough room for building.
Okay.
But the other idea is, so as a police officer, if I'm responding someplace, houses go by at a certain increment. So if they're always 50 feet and I go, half a mile, I should be near number 100 or, whatever it is.
Right.
So if the property line is here and the numbering starts there, there's no visual
That makes
delineation for me.
Okay.
So the
So
numbering
that's why
is
that goes, is
regardless.
based on that.
Right, regardless, if they're new numbers on whatever names we
Right.
come up with.
Right.
So then
The 50-foot increment.
the first question was, why
Yes.
inconvenience 40 homes opposed to 4 homes?
It's not meant to inconvenience. It's really not. It's meant to follow a standardization. So it goes by kind of like logic. If you turned on to here from Breakfast Hill and you were driving and you've never been here before, you wouldn't assume that if you went straight, it's another name, and if you took a left, it would be the same name. It also wouldn't make sense if you're driving to take a left to think that you're on the same road but with higher numbers.
But
Does that make sense? Do you understand that thought? It's okay. I'm more than happy to answer.
Well, I mean, I understand your justification.
Yeah.
I said, but I think there's a human aspect to your justification. That it doesn't take in the human aspect of of everybody in the room, and that's I think something you have to consider.
I totally agree, it needs to be considered. The other part of the human aspect is me responding to an emergency. So it's not just a robot, it is the human aspect of, I've been in Maple, in Maple Drive 100 times. But if they said, go to 53, I'd be like, is that on, especially in an emergency, is that on the circle or is that on the straight? Is that on the circle? You know what I mean? So do I take a left to get there faster on the circle, or do I go straight? So if it was Maple Drive versus Oak Drive, let's say, then I would know it's on Oak.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that, it is the human aspect. I totally get it, and the inconvenience is awful. I want to say that right up front. This is not.
Well,
it's not easy to go through an address change. It's not fun. Even though we give you 90 days or 100 or whatever it happens to be, Google Maps always lags a little bit, and then your UPS, your Amazon isn't getting there right away, and you send someone flowers and you're frustrated. So I get it. It's not an easy change, and I'm not here to diminish that at all.
No, those are my two questions. I have no arguments.
Anybody else have any other questions? Go ahead.
Patrick Miner, 7 Maple Drive. So a couple concerns, a couple things. I am going to say, as a firefighter in town, we've gone through there a whole bunch of times, never had a problem finding anything. The extension, I understand that, but again, I am with him where it's, there's actually 6 people that are going to be on the extension that are gonna be affected as opposed to just everybody. Development has been there since the 80s. Hasn't been a problem, so it's gonna be a problem now for a couple of us. I live at this first building right here.
Right.
My driveway is off of, we'll call this one Road A and this one Road B.
Yep.
So my neighbor has Road
B,
B, I'm on Road A.
yes,
So you're gonna give me a Road B name, but my driveway is gonna be on Road A.
right,
So my packages are gonna get all screwed up forever. And then, another member of our department lives down at 35 and 37 right now.
right,
And again, they run into the same exact problem where, you know, some paint on the road at the corner could make you signal that it's gonna be a loop going around. And I've never had a problem finding any address in this place. Knowing that you're going down to the 30s at one end and higher than 30s is over on the other side. But so now you're gonna inconvenience two people and screwing up packages, everything for how long, getting that there just because a couple of things, some paint and some signs, I think could easily take care of it instead of messing with everybody else on the whole road.
and I totally get that. The fact right now that you have, a driveway here and a driveway there, but you guys are both still numbered on the lower end, is the same exact idea. Is that number 5 isn't numbered high over here by the end of Maple
Yeah,
Drive.
but right now he's the only one that's off, but it's been that way for 30 years, so UPS, FedEx, everybody
You're right,
kind
they
of
know right now.
understands that, the oil delivery guy for them understands that.
Yep.
So everybody that's been delivering, doing stuff is, and right now is okay with that, that's the way it's always been.
Right,
So now you're gonna make some other change, and right now, he's the only one that is off of that path. There's
right,
35 and 37, it works for them, everybody else the whole way around, it all
right.
works for.
You're right, and after, and it'll be a pain in the butt for a certain amount of time, and then everybody will get used to it. I know that you have no problem with this, you live there, but you live in town, and you've probably responded to every part of this town, which is great. The whole standardization is based on new people, on a new volunteer, and mutual aid, and, you know, we can't count on the fact anymore that, you know, you've been here a million years, or Ralph's been here a million years. You know, it has to be that anyone can get to your house at any time. So if it all follows the standardization, that's the idea behind it. I get it. And you're probably right. For the first, 6 months, it's probably going to be a pain in the butt. And you're exactly right. It's not meant to put that it's not as important as these changes, or standardization is more important than your inconvenience. But the whole 911 process through the town, the reason we're doing this is I genuinely believe that if there's a standardization, it may only save a second, it may save a minute to some addresses. And if that saves one life in 10 years, it's worth it to me. You may feel different, but it's the same thing with the bays. We've responded to Bay Ridge when it's been Bayview.
And I understand that it has a difference in having multiple houses, or, off of one road, and I've been there, especially with all the bay stuff, bay sides.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but this isn't that, this is a.
But this is still another standardization issue where it's different than every other place, and therefore it makes it, it doesn't follow the standard logic that someone would have if they've never seen it before. And that's what we're trying to get, is the simplest denominator.
So when I call for you guys to come to my house.
Yes.
For standardization.
Yes.
You're gonna come down, you're gonna take a left, and my driveway's gonna be straight ahead how's that gonna work?
Well.
Doesn't that go against this?
Can I just explain a little bit on these
on the
two
corner
corner
ones.
lots?
Yeah.
We went by the building faces, which road the building primarily faces. We know that there's 2 driveways and it's a special circumstance.
Mhm.
So we looked at, the building faces primarily this road, so that's the road that would have the address. And with standards, I mean, if something else like this comes across with the town, they're gonna do it the same way. They're going to look and say, okay, well, which road does it primarily face, even if it does have 2 driveways? And that's the road that will get chosen.
And if someone turned left and pulled into your co-duplex driveway, I mean, obviously your doors are right next to each other and could be accessed. But you're right, those 2 are the exceptions. that we struggle with. Do you number them off of different roads? Which we could do, but then you're
You're
connected.
gonna have different road names.
Right, exactly, and so if somebody owned both sides, that would be difficult. But yeah, those two are exceptions, really for, we have several condex things throughout the town, and those are the types of exceptions.
And I went through the same thing myself, and they changed my number. I was getting, the UPS guy was delivering things to me that weren't mine and that type of thing. But that went on for about maybe 3 or 4 months, and then things started to fall into place, so.
This
That
happened
does
when my
happen.
mom
It's
came
gotta
for
be-
3 years and they still can't deliver a freaking package to the right place. So, that's where, you know,
Yeah, I
my
get it,
frustration, my
I get it.
oil, everything else is all just,
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think she raised her hand first. but-
Hi, my name is Donna Feelick. I live at 35 Maple Drive. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand the explanation. I didn't understand it in the paperwork. I don't really care what happens 50 years from now. I can guarantee I won't be here. But the problem I have, if you're explaining it to me, is I live at 35. Rob, who is a fireman, lives at 37. If I'm hearing you right, he's going to be on a different street than I am.
No.
No.
Yeah, he would.
Yes, he would be.
Yes, he would.
No, we're number, if you'll notice, these are purple. So because this is facing what I'll call Maple Drive, or the Road A, more than the other one, this one is getting addressed off of the yellow one.
But his driveway would go
It's on
off
the other
the new
one.
road.
Yes.
So that's huge confusion.
It is where the residence is facing, is what the standard is for that.
Okay.
For-
So how
for
is
these two
the
exceptions.
post office going to fix all this? Because right now, my neighbor, if you're coming in Breakfast Hill, I'm on the left-hand side where the cul-de-sac is. Then my neighbor before me, but my neighbor before me, their post box is a 1719. The next post office is mine, 35. The next post going up the street is 24.
Yeah.
Um,
So how is this all going to be worked out too?
I can answer that.
Oh, you can?
I can, because I work for the post office. I'm running carrier in Durham.
Uh-huh.
So what they'll do is, the letter carrier who delivers right now, she works out of Portsmouth.
Donna.
Donna Smart. She's not happy about the whole thing, but what they'll do is for a year, the post office will deliver the mail to both addresses. So if you're 35 Maple Drive, whenever mail comes, will be delivered there. And also whatever your new address, that mail will be delivered there. On her case, she'll have your new address and your old address underneath it. This will give you time.
I never worry about Donna.
Yeah.
Donna always gets my mail there.
Yeah.
But every time you have different carriers, I never get my mail.
That's right. But on the case, that's what will happen when that happens. I've had that happen. I work in Durham and I've had some changes.
So I say, no
made.
offense, hon, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
it's confusing in there as it is with the way the post office boxes are set up. Now
Right.
you're bringing in a whole other change,
Right.
and I still don't understand the 50-foot thing. If somebody
Okay.
could sort
Yeah,
of
I can-
explain that to me.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
so for example, the first building that's number 6 and 8 right now. So we would,
What's the name? Right here, this one.
Yes.
6.
okay, right now it's 6 and 8.
Oh,
So I would say just by, the potential address would be 18 and 20, so based on those numbers, I would guesstimate that every 50 feet, sorry Tara.
No, that's fine.
So 50 feet would be a number, then the next 50 feet would account for another number, the next 50 feet, and so on and so on and so on. So what we do is we figure out where the driveway is, so we measure all the way up, and the driveway's right here.
Yeah.
So we take that measurement from the beginning of the road, we divide that by 50, and then we multiply it by 2, because there's 2 sides of the road, and that's how you figure out your distance. And then the next driveway, we would continue to do the same thing, so we would continue from the 50 feet to where the next driveway is. We'd measure that out, divide it by 50, multiply it by 2, and that's how you get your every 50 feet. There's an address number available. So for example, let's say between the building that's currently 18 and 20 and 24 and 26, if they were to put another duplex in, because we've measured by 50 feet, there'd be a number available. Because right now, you wouldn't be able to, because you'd have a 22 and a 24, but 24 is already taken.
Yeah,
So
but,
you,
but by that measure, in our condo documents, nobody can build there anyway.
Yeah.
Our condos don't allow anybody to build on the property that's already existed.
Right, she's not saying that's the only reason, but that was the
But
example of the
that's my
amount of
example.
space in between.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so if the post people, is there a reason why, like I'm 35, why we can't have our post box on our lot?
You mean as opposed to across the street?
Yeah, why does it all have to be on one side?
Because it's the line of travel that she does. She goes down once, we go down, when we're doing curbside delivery, which is what that is, we go down one side of the street and then we go down to Maple Drive Extension, turn around, and then we continue on the other side. We don't backtrack. It's not a parking loop. We go down the street, turn around, and then come back up Maple Drive. We have to go around that blue section over there. So all the boxes have to be on the right-hand side,
Okay.
even if they're across,
So-
even if you live on the island side of the.
Okay, so is this gonna be a coordinated effort so that if whatever number of hours turns out to be, that my post office box is gonna be across from me, and the next one will be an appropriate box, like if I'm
Well, the
30, the
box
next
is-
one will be
The box is
32?
not gonna change, just the numbers are gonna change. And Donna's gonna
Yeah.
Donna's gonna have to get her edit book, and she's gonna have to put in the new addresses in there. So there's gonna be two addresses. It's gonna be your old address, and she's gonna change it to your new address. So,
But do you understand what I explained? You've got 17, 19, 35, and 24. How does that make any sense to anybody?
They're
gonna change them all?
You're gonna change the numbers, the order of the delivery is still gonna be the same. It's just that the numbers are gonna change on the boxes.
Okay.
That's it. In other words, I mean, I have the same thing where I'm delivering, okay?
Yeah.
I'm delivering houses, and there are houses that are across the street, but the order I'm delivering the mail is still gonna be the same, just the numbers are gonna change. You know, so you, instead of being 35, you're gonna become, what's your number supposedly gonna become?
57.
57.
Okay,
So
so
so Donna will have a thing that will say, the new address will be 57, whatever the new street name, and then underneath it, she'll have 35 Maple Drive. But she'll keep that for
so
about
mine
a
might
year.
be 57. So Donna Lee's across the street from me.
Mhm.
So is hers gonna be the next number?
The box will still be in the same order, the box will still be in the order. Donna will just have 35 Maple Drive, and then she'll have the whatever the street number is. You know, whatever that is, that's gonna be there.
I have a question. Does anyone know someone real clever? I have 24 etched or carved in a granite post. And I'm wondering how.
Actually, yes.
You do?
Yes.
Good girl, Tara.
Well, we've had this in another neighborhood where what they did was they dug down, they flipped it over so that the number's in the ground, and then you mount the box on the other end.
Wait a minute.
For that.
No, wait, you pay for that, but
Yeah.
most of the granite posts that are sunk today, it come down to the bottom and then expand out so that they don't spin. So in our
That's not what
situation on
happened.
Great Bay Road, we had to replace the posts ourselves.
We dug them up, thought how clever, turned out they came down and went out, and we had to put in new posts.
Yeah.
Maybe the builder in the first neighborhood was cheap.
You're gonna pull that, my mailbox will be the first one they see.
Just to let you know, one of the things that we did is we
Throwing
took,
everybody off again.
she did,
mailbox
magnets
is
that were
over
about that
5,
long and
6
cut them
inches.
about that big and wrote with an indelible marker the old address and stuck that on the metal mailbox for, we've had it
And then we
for,
changed our posts.
yeah,
It's
for a couple of months.
I'm not buying a new post.
And we've finally ripped off the metal. and it's been-
I have a question, Mr. Pacheco, just because you're the post office guy. Is there something that says that their mailboxes have to be, like in certain neighborhoods, do they have to be on a certain side of the road?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay,
Because of because of the order of the delivery. We don't, when Donna, what Donna does is Donna, and I've done this before, and just knowing how it does, she goes down Sunnyside, she
Yep,
goes down to the
yep.
end of Sunnyside, she comes up Sunnyside, so that's why they can
Yep.
have their boxes on both sides. When she comes down Maple Drive, she's coming down Maple Drive and she's delivering the mail on the right-hand side. She goes all the way down to Maple Drive Extension.
Yep.
She turns around. She's already delivered all the mail on the yellow houses and everything.
I get
So,
that, I just
okay.
didn't know if that was just for convenience, or if that is dictated
It's
by
kind
some
of,
sort of
it's
law.
kind of about convenience or just the way the road is set up.
It's
Okay,
to save money for the post office,
It's,
because I was a postmaster and I went through all this. Far too much.
okay.
But you try and do it as,
as efficiently as possible.
Right.
That's the, if it most.
Great, so that when they originally built that was an agreement that they made with the builder, and so that's kind of what happened?
Well,
or-
what happened was when they built it, they actually at the top, they had what they called an NDCBU, and they
Oh,
would, right.
okay.
And then Dick Brown, who was the postmaster in 1995, didn't want to have delivery over there and ordered us to put up curbside boxes. And he told us this is how
So
we.
the post office.
The post office made us, yeah, had to change it, right.
Okay.
Which the post office can do.
Yeah.
Could have left the curbside box up at the top of the hill.
Okay.
There's actually up there with a little shelter and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that, but they
Okay.
decided to change it. And this,
Put up boxes.
and when they went down, and this is how they wanted to do
Okay.
it. So they told us that we had to put our boxes on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So the people who live, like, in the middle part of the island, had to put their box on the street over there.
Right.
And then Donna, or whoever was, actually, it was still Donna, I think, at the time, she's been there for like ever. She had to go and she had to put in her edit book the order and the numbers and everything.
Right,
The
okay.
Numbers don't go 2, 4, 6, they go like right now 6, 8, like 11, 15,
Right.
12, 14, actually 6, 8, 12, 14, 11, 15,
Oh,
18,
okay.
20, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so that's what she was talking about they're in
Right.
weird order now.
They
So
look
will
weird,
stay
but,
in the weird?
right, they
Okay.
look weird, but when you're out delivering, it makes a
It
lot of
makes
sense, right?
okay, Brady,
Thank you. Eric Chassie, 41 Maple Drive. I just want to know, when will this take effect? How long will we have to make all these inconvenience changes?
Yeah, it's
Because
June,
it didn't say in the letter exactly when this was taking effect.
it's set for June 3rd. There's nothing that in stone that says it. We give everybody 90 days and then we try and add a little bit because there's nothing that's pressing to a certain date about that. So we want to give people plenty of time. But we don't recommend you change it early because it's not going to be in 911 until June 3rd, if that makes sense to you. Yes, sir.
Right, so I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
You know, I've emailed you and Mrs. Hussey about
Yes.
some changes on this. So, my suggestion was, you have the yellow road remain as Maple Drive, and the blue road become a new name for reasons. My idea was to, can't keep, either keep the numbers, the reason why I said keep the yellow road Maple Drive, it's already established in town, and it's off Breakfast Hill Road, rather than changing it to a new number, a new street name. Now, do the numbers have to be those numbers, or can you just make it, instead of like 18, change 6 and 8 to 18 and 20, can you make it like 106 and 108? Do they have to be those numbers?
They really should be those numbers because the idea of the 50-foot increments isn't just to leave numbers in between for usage. It's so that when you turn on there, as an emergency responder, if I go a half a mile, I should be around number 100. Or if I go a mile, I should, so if something always goes by in 50-foot increments, then we know kind of where to look for the numbers.
We're talking about like inconvenience, and my suggestion is that if we keep it Maple Drive, those houses that are on that yellow pot could stay with the same numbers, okay? Rather, that would not inconvenience. The only people you change would be the numbers down in the extension. And my suggestion was to make them either high 80s or high 90s, which don't exist, because the highest number on Maple Drive right now is 80 Maple Drive, which is that last house on the corner.
Right.
So the houses that are a 6X, 8X, 12X, 14X, 5X, and 7X become like 82 or 92 or 91 or 81, and you do that. The houses that you have on the blue section could stay with the same numbers and have a different street name. And this way here, that would be the less impact on a lot of people and everything like that. Now, I understand the reason for the 50-foot increment, but in this particular development, there
written
won't,
into our
I mean,
deeds.
like 50 years from now, we won't even be here.
You don't need to
None of
worry.
us will be, a lot of us will be really, really old or.
No, but we can't subdivide, we can't subdivide and,
Right.
build.
Right, but we don't.
Well, the town ordinance won't allow any development in there because we have to have 60,000 square feet around each of the house because of a septic tank and a well and everything.
I understand that for now, but that's nothing that the planning board can't change in 20 years. Honestly, and I'm not saying it's gonna change, and that's not the primary reason. The primary reason is obviously so it can be easily found by someone who's not familiar with Greenland when we call for mutual aid, in case there is a heart attack, in case there is an armed intruder. I mean, things that hopefully never happen to anyone in this room.
Well, for 33 years, I don't think anything's ever happened like that before.
Well, that's what Chief Maloney said 7 years ago. Unfortunately, things happen when you don't want them to. And I'm not here to say that I think that they will. Greenland is a wonderful, wonderful town, and we don't have a lot of those types of things happen. But even a heart attack, or someone comes to visit your house and drops and you don't know what's going on. Fire, anything, seconds matter. And that's the whole point of these 4 years of 911 changes, is just not trying to inconvenience everyone in Greenland and make everyone hate me. It's, if I can save, 10 seconds, I want to.
Yeah.
And the officers and the fire people, they're very affected if you go to something and someone dies. I mean, their family is grieving, but to respond to something like that is very, very difficult. And if we have any chance of making that different, I really want to, for the wellness of the community, for everybody.
Like I said, my issue with the whole thing is changing the yellow section, Maple Drive, to another one. I think Maple Drive should stay Maple Drive. But then the problem you have is that the numbers, the person who gets 18, now there's already an 18 that's exact, it's the post office thing.
That's why.
That's one of the things. I mean, I think we should keep Maple Drive, it's already established, it's off of Breakfast Hill Road, everybody knows what it is. When we give directions to people or delivery people, we tell them, look, it's Maple Drive, the first left or the first off of Breakfast Hill Road.
Right.
Okay, to change the name of something would be kind of confusing. Also, GPS takes like 3 to 6 months, sometimes a year, to change. And I had given an example.
Yep.
Okay, I was delivering Amazon packages in Stratham, helping them out.
Yeah.
And they have a couple of new streets there. One of them is Jacqueline Way. And my GPS was not picking up Jacqueline Way, which happened to be off Willowbrook. Okay, and that street had been there for a year or so. All I get was just an arrow in the middle of a white field. It doesn't exist, okay? And so for, GPS or something, people trying to find it, delivery people, oil people, or visitors, they have no idea what this place is.
And that is very true. Now, when we go through these 911 changes, we're lucky to have 911 as a resource. They push out what's the MSAG, which you're probably familiar with, it's just the master address guide or the changes out, and they specifically push them out to Google and to Bing and to all these other places, hoping that they'll pick them up. Now, it's completely up to those company to scoop up the file and accept it. So sometimes we see a turnaround time of days, and sometimes it's months. So to speak to your point, absolutely that's possible. Stratham probably didn't make the leap of pushing it out like we did.
Right.
Yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, they do. But it's just that, and usually these things, I mean, even on GPS right now or Google, these streets don't appear on it at all, and they've been established for a while. Okay.
Can I
it's not
just
like,
comment on that?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times when it comes to the address changes, like Tara had said that, we push them out to Google and to Garmin and all the people. But when it comes to a new road, it takes Google a little bit longer because they actually have to send somebody out to go collect a new road.
Right.
It's not like it's an existing road that they can just go in there and change the name so they can get it done like that.
Right.
It's a new road. They gotta wait and get their crew out there.
GPS up there.
Okay, let me take a couple of more questions. If anybody's got one, go ahead.
It's not really a question. Kevin and Lori Philbrook, 8X Maple Drive. This lady down here in the blue knows us pretty well, and we know her front steps better than probably anybody else, or probably her. So we welcome the new numbers. Thank you.
Okay, Tara, can you just basically tell them what it is that you do for them as far as the post office goes, what they
Oh,
need
yeah.
to do as far as licenses go and that type of thing?
So you will get a packet. If, you know, this will be considered by the Board of Selectmen. They make the ultimate decision, and there is another hearing in 2 weeks where they take a vote. In between then, you know, you can come up with names or talk to them or whatever. But you will get a packet if changes go through, and it will have in it letters that you can send to your mortgage company or any other creditors or whatever that explains the change and what the old address was and the new address was. You do not have to worry about changing any deed or anything like that. It goes on file here at the town hall as the old address, the new address with the lot number and all the stuff that already is on file. When you sell the property or transfer it for some reason, that's when the new address will be recorded as the current address. But, so there's,
When you say that, do you change it in the county as well?
no, you don't have to do anything. Only when you transfer or sell it, it will be noted as the new address, but it's the same lot and
So
everything.
that's generated from the town?
Yes.
To the county?
Once there's a sale or a transfer. Right now, it just stays on record with the town, with, everything goes together. You will have in the packet, you'll have a list of people that you should call, which would be utilities and things like that. We obviously forward the address changes out to the post office, so you don't need to do that. I send them directly to the postmaster in Portsmouth and in Greenland, so that that will already be on file with them. The road names will be put up on the day or very close to the day if anything changes in there. And the only thing you're expected to do on that day is put up the new number on your mailbox and on your home. But that will be explained in the letter as well and show you exactly how you should number it. Any questions, or if there's someone that is having difficulty, not sure what to change, then both Charlotte and myself can sit down and help you. We can help you make calls or give you extra paperwork, whatever you think you need or whatever there's confusion with. And again, 911 pushes it to, or Charlotte pushes it and 911 to UPS and FedEx and things like that, as well as the Google and the maps. Yes.
On the
service
new road changes, where you have the new road that's currently the straight in from Breakfast Hill Road, that's Maple Hill
Yes.
Drive, and then you have the one that goes around when
Yes.
you come in the left. That one I understand. Are you still contemplating changing Maple Drive as you come in off Breakfast Hill Road? It says new name.
Yes, ultimately, that will be up to the Board of Selectmen. Our recommendation is always to change it because there will be an old 18 and 20 and a new 18 and 20. And so throughout the town, we've come across this several times. So in order to reduce confusion, the standardization is always to recommend a new name for it. The Board of Selectmen, obviously, it's their decision. So it's going to be, you know, up to them on if they want to keep Maple Drive, as Mr. Pacheco requested, and just rename the blue, or if they'll rename both of them.
With the confusion, so when they pull down the Maple Drive now, there's gonna be a nice big ass post right at the end of my driveway with a big number 8 on it, and then the house right across from me is gonna be an even number. So they're gonna see 2 even numbers. That's not gonna create any confusion as you first pull down. And if you look at my house, you're gonna, if you look up at the house, our numbers are visible from Maple Drive, so it's gonna be even numbers here and even numbers here.
Well, it's gonna be 6 and 8, and it's gonna be 18 and 20.
Yeah, but
No, but
I'm saying you're gonna come down to 2 even numbers.
Oh.
Because right here is gonna be a big post with my number 8.
My question is, would you rather have a different address than your housemate, or would you rather?
All I'm trying to say is this needs more discussion, more thought, because what's gonna happen is just gonna be all.
This is
right at the end.
standardization. So I'm asking you, as the person who knows the most about living there,
Yep.
do you think it would be better and less confusing for you if yours was numbered off of Road A and your housemate was numbered off of Road B?
It's gonna be easier for me. I don't,
Well-
it's gonna be, we're having one house with 2 streets to it.
Yep.
So that's the thing.
But there is in the standards, I mean, there's a lot of times that there's houses that are on corner lots, where you have a door here and you have a door on the other door, on the other.
That's this case.
And that is an exception to the rule where you can have the 2 separate addresses depending on where the driveway is.
Right, so my thought is if it would be more helpful to have this split up instead, then we can go, it would have to be on this side too, obviously. so that it would make it more logical and make it easier for the people that live there, then that would be our standard for the town.
I think it'd be
So, and we
easier
could do
for,
that.
because I don't see me getting deliveries of anything, just, it's just gonna be a nightmare. And I know when my mom went through it, so I'm replaying that all in my head, so that's why it's just, and then, like I said, I have a number there, it's just
No,
overwhelmed.
no problem, because they're.
We would, so we would have to decide.
Two
what to
and
do.
then four though, because it's a new street name curving around this way, and this is like 50 feet, 100 feet?
It would be on the,
But
By your standard, wouldn't it be 2 and 4?
it is it's 50-foot increments to the driveway. So this one, this 6 and 8 went off of this driveway that
so
meets
it's
here,
gonna be a
right there.
5.
So this one would be, if he numbers off of this one, it will be a different number, obviously. It would be,
It
Then
would
it
probably be a 5.
Okay, so, well,
No,
the
it'd be
above
no,
one
I'm sorry,
side, and
No, I'm
then
saying on this side, it would be what is 17?
actually, it
We'd
would.
have to measure it.
Yeah. I
Have
would
to measure where the
but it would
driveway
always be
goes.
a 6 on one side and a 5 on the other. Actually, it's pretty close, so it might actually be more like a 2.
Yeah,
A 2 and a,
Well, it depends on where the driveway
but
meets.
it does.
Because it goes right to the driveway, the center of the driveway, and they have it GPS. So we would just have to work on those numbers
Yeah.
on this side and this side. So any, yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
Now that New Hampshire has passed a law that a single-family house can put on a mother-in-law type apartment, how does that affect the numbering?
It doesn't, in here, it doesn't. If someone builds an in-law apartment, that has a specific addressing standard
Okay.
that can be added to any address.
Like an A or a B?
So, yes, it depends on if it's kind of, have a separate entrance and a separate driveway, or if it's like an actual in-law apartment, that's when it gets the letter, yeah.
And just point of information, I don't know if you're aware that Amazon is now delivering its own packages. They started a week or so ago.
I had they were going.
Across
to
the
do that.
country?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have their own.
They
delivery
showed up
service.
at my office with 45 packages one afternoon.
It was Christmas.
Well, Christmas has been 450. But anyway, that's
So-
something you should be aware of.
Yeah,
Just push it out to them.
They are hiring people that
Yeah, you can
are
get a
like
van.
Lyft operators and Uber drivers to deliver this stuff right
Yeah,
now until they get
It's true,
squared
yeah,
away.
because they were, I believe I heard that they were offering people vans
Yeah.
if they wanna come work for you,
Yeah, my
delivering
son has
stuff.
a friend down in Connecticut who's working for them.
Yeah.
And they have currently a U-Haul van. That's
Yeah.
what they're using to
Oh, right.
deliver it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's based out of Nashua, I believe.
Yep.
Interesting. And one other thing, the road down to the cell phones, what's the status of that? Has that got a name?
No, that's an access road for the companies that need to go down there. There's a power, there's 2 cell phones, there's a power station, so they go down there. Plus, Eversource goes down to access the power lines that run along 95 and behind, like my house, for instance.
Can that be developed?
No,
Not right
it's
now.
a bog, it's a wetland.
But we, in town, we call it Tower Place so that we can refer to it.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as future development, if anyone builds back there, then it would get a name.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. I am going to close the public hearing. We're going to have the next public hearing at the next meeting.
We can't decide this tonight? We can't just decide to name something Breakfast Hill and give the other people a chance to
Well,
name
actually,
or-
you can go back, because we're going to have another public hearing. And you can come back. This seems to have worked in the past with all the others we've done. And they've gotten together, they've come up with new names.
Oh, I got a
and
list
things
of
like that,
them.
'cause we prefer to let you guys do it.
And I
rather
would
than
say,
us
I would
do
say
it.
this, usually in the second meeting, if people accept it and aren't gonna come back to argue tooth and nail, then get together with each other, and only 1 or 2 people have to come back if you guys agree upon names. Or if you don't agree on names with everybody, then you can just submit names to Karen, and Karen just brings forth the names next time, and you can talk about them.
Karen Bailey, 6 and 8 Maple Drive. Could we offer up the option of voting tonight on keeping Maple Drive and then potentially renaming the blue so that we would know what the next steps were? Because it might not involve everyone. If it needs to involve everyone and we need to hash out potentially renaming both, then everybody's back in 2 weeks. Otherwise, you just have back the people that are in the blue road that might need to rename, and it might reduce the length of the
Next meeting.
next meeting.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Do you, anybody else here?
It affects half the room, though. Is that okay for everybody else?
I'm fine with it. I've made a list of names. I could read
I
them
can
off.
read off these list of names suggested. Juniper,
No.
elm,
No.
chestnut,
No.
dogwood,
No.
poplar, mulberry, walnut, cottonwood, locust, sycamore, ash, magnolia, hemlock, cedar, white cedar, oak, crescent, Extension Way, Bog Lane, Main Street,
Oh, you've been busy.
Coffee Lane, Quiet Lane, Quartz, Quicksilver, or Quarter Lane.
At the rate we're going, this may end up in the
Wait.
next.
Ed Helmbrecht, 8 Maple Drive.
Well,
My suggestion would stay with
more.
keeping the Maple Drive, the yellow one.
Yes.
And I
And
would
then
say,
give everybody
take
else
a
an
vote.
opportunity to vote on that.
And
since
then,
you're
well,
the names.
when I was talking to some of my neighbors that live on the blue section. I live at 62. And my suggestion, of course, is to keep the yellow part, Maple Drive, because the streets are already there. They don't have to make new street names or anything. And for directions, everybody says, you know, it's off of Breakfast Hill Road.
Right.
Okay. The blue section would have a new street name.
That's why it's
And
moved.
the idea I had was, and my neighbors agreed, is to name it after a tree to keep it in the same theme. So my favorite one I came up with was Juniper Lane, and I mentioned it to Mrs. Hussey, and Chief Laurent really loved it. She told me. And my reason for that is, number one, there are no names in the town that begin with the letter J. Yeah, so Juniper Lane would be totally unique. It's easy, it doesn't have these 4 syllables like Hallow Farm, Sleepy Hollow Road. And then we just have, we just call it Juniper Lane. It keeps the tree theme in the neighborhood. And then I came up with some other ones, and I looked through the Vision Quest to see which ones didn't have it. As far as I came up with, the other letters were Q and Y and Z. So I had Quiet Lane and Quartz, and didn't particularly care for those.
Nodaway Way, McNally's Lane,
Yeah.
John's Way, Cordy, Beaten Path, and
Those are just
Privet
some,
Lane.
yeah, those are just, yeah.
So what does everybody think about the idea
Zenith.
of Juniper and,
Let's do
Can I have some?
Huh?
Maple first.
I need-
let's do Maple.
all right.
Wait, she has a question.
I asked you this question before, and I still don't quite understand how that's gonna work when you change the new road. I'm at 37 currently.
Yes.
Mine is on the Breakfast Hill Road you're talking about, coming down the straightaway. So Maple Drive would be fine. I'm right off Breakfast Hill Road. I have no problem with that. But my adjacent townhouse, my neighbor, his driveway is going to be on the new street.
Correct,
Right. So his address will be different than ours.
correct.
Yes.
As we just discussed, yes.
All right, I didn't quite get that. I thought you
Yes.
said to me, that would be an exception and his would still remain the same.
I did, and then we talked further with the people on the other corner, and it was decided that it'd be a little bit easier on
Okay,
each
so we
side.
could have 35 Maple Drive and he could be 24 Juniper.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Okay, that's gonna make sense on those condo documents.
Okay? All right. So the consensus is, from what I hear, is the road coming off of Breakfast Hill will remain Maple Drive.
Correct.
Right through the
And the little
But
route
yes,
going
and
around,
And the extension would be Maple Drive as well.
the
So
extension would be
the
Maple
yellow,
Drive as well.
the yellow road would stay Maple
Yep.
Drive because that is already established road in Greenland. It's unique, and you don't have to buy new signs.
Got you. And then the little blue road that goes around the loop
the Blue Road would have a new name, and like I suggested, it would be after a tree. And
What would that new name be?
Well, I
Let's
suggest.
decide on
That
Maple
would be the
first.
next, that could be the next meeting.
Okay.
In other words, you
That's
could cut
fine.
this room in half, and just those people with the rename could come back and decide.
Okay, all right.
Solves it for everybody.
Makes sense to me.
But I have, like I said, I have the list of names that I came up with that are unique to the town. And, you know, some of them are kind of weird and strange or something like that. But for me personally, because I live on the blue side, we kind of like Juniper Lane.
Okay, all right, very good.
And if I could just make one comment, and the reason,
Go ahead.
one of the reasons why we wanted to keep Maple Drive, well, excuse me, why we wanted to change the Maple Drive is so we weren't reusing a number that was already used.
Well, that's a post office thing.
Yeah.
That's not really, we can keep, if we keep it Maple Drive, the post office just has to deal with it, okay? Which means that if whoever is currently 18, okay, they're just gonna have to be friends with the people who are at number 6.
That's me.
Okay, because, you know, the carrier's just gonna have to just, on that
Figure it
particular
out.
section, they're just gonna have to look at the names and
Are
such,
gonna have to be friends with you guys,
you know?
and vice versa.
Well, see, we have tenants in there.
You know,
so we
that's
don't really-
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see why you don't get it, okay.
We still have to change the mortgage and the
If
insurance.
you have a condo, a condo, the townhouses, everybody knows what they are there. If you have a condo and you have 2 different streets, how does that affect the condo documents? How does it affect, it doesn't?
It doesn't. The property is still connected, both the old address and new address are still connected with the lot.
So wouldn't it affect the insurance
No.
or anything like that?
No.
Okay, all right, good. Thank
All
you.
good.
Okay,
I'll move that the,
yes, go ahead.
I'll move the Yellow Road remain Maple Drive.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, these people, they're the ones that need to vote.
Is 18 or 20 here, the new 18 or
Extension is now part of
20.
Maple Drive.
Yep, that's why I said the Yellow Road.
That good? Okay, great. All right, well,
See the other half back next time.
Hopefully with
Now,
a consensus.
You have more business, or are you guys going home too?
Palomino didn't work.
You got a lot more business. That's you going a long time. How's the running for Very well. Last couple of days.
Yeah.
I know, I did 4 yesterday. What, you want today? Never called me? No, I didn't. Tomorrow I'll be out. I'll see you around there.
Our boxes are side by side.
Lana worked for me.
How's the big boy doing?
Lana worked for me for all 15 years.
So if you need us to go back, let us know and we'll come back. Otherwise, we're not gonna come back, we're just gonna assume we're 18
Thank you Actually, I don't really think so. I've got a drainage problem.
Never gonna work with crap. That's when you thought you knew all the roads, they throw 10 more in.
Well, that's what we don't know if that has a big square bottom or if it's the straight one. Has it been forever?
No, I haven't.
Stratum and stratum.
So it's probably been there 10 years. I'm gonna say it's probably square.
They don't really want to.
It worked very nicely. Someone came
I'm not about to change.
Oh, no.
Yeah, or maybe I could just have it. So maybe.
But yeah, I will.
Because he has to straighten it out.
We need to move the meeting.
you're right, and I'm asking, I don't know where Vaughn is, but I've asked Karen to
Monday,
do
the
that.
18th.
To do that night.
7 o'clock, not
Do something about that with 8 o'clock, that raise the half marathon.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Thursday. I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
Half marathon, third annual half marathon.
Okay. All right, Tara, while you're here, we're gonna jump down to, the half marathon road race?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so it's been for the past 2 years, there's been a half marathon that starts in Greenland and really is mainly in Newington, but it ends in Greenland as well, at Mercedes. It goes into the parking lot. I don't know if any of you guys have participated or seen part of it, but, last year it went more smoothly. They corrected the route a little bit. This year, they're adding a 5K portion. So it's gonna go in the parking lot of Lowe's and then around that first circle, which is Portsmouth Ave out to 33, back on Suds and Soda, back to Mercedes. So it is pretty, compact in our part of town. They hired the correct number of officers. I think it was 3 or 4 last year. They do have a beer tent. There's never been any problems. We have an officer at the beer tent. So I don't see any problems with it. We have met with the company, I think it's Loco Sports or Loco Racing or something, a couple of times, and they're very responsive.
And what does this benefit?
Loco Sports, I think. I don't think it benefits.
It's not a nonprofit.
Yeah, I don't think it's
What?
It's not a nonprofit one.
I think it's just another race that they run.
Oh, actually, it will be, a portion of it will support Girls on the Run in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay,
So it
all right,
does.
okay. So I'll entertain a motion on this.
I move to approve the third annual half marathon road race to be held Sunday, May 5th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just take one second.
Go ahead.
Just mention one thing to Tara to think about. We've been reading in the paper recently about the possible privatization of the transportation center at Pease.
Yes.
And if that were to occur, and they decided all of a sudden to make all those paying spaces, the
Yes.
individuals who use it now otherwise, I'm afraid that they would decide, oh, let me go to Target and Lowe's and I'll get all my parking for free.
I think that's probably a good guess.
And if that were to happen, if you could just think about that, working with the planning board and working with the site owners to think about how we would prevent that from happening,
Yeah.
or at least somehow regulate it.
Yeah, that's great. We do work with them regularly on making sure that trucks don't park in there. That's been an ongoing thing. So I'm sure we could come up with something to try and either
To
mitigate
protect-
that or.
Protect all of us and keep that parking on Pease where it really belongs.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes from January 21st. Any questions, changes?
Move we approve as presented.
Second. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion
So
passes.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't there.
Anything under Coakley, Paul, or is
I have nothing.
nothing at all? Okay. Okay. Current use release.
This is brought back from the last meeting that we had. Selectman Sanderson was correct with this particular lot. They transferred the 18 acres and maintained the 2, or just under the 2. So when they break ground, that's when the current use has to be issued.
Okay.
And as of right now, they have not broken ground.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
So the motion is actually to withdraw the warrant, and then it would just have to be reissued.
Okay.
Yeah, so therefore I would move to withdraw the warrant for the land use change tax issued on January 7, 2019 for 2 Osprey Cove, map 12, lot 26F.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Liaison reports, any? right along. Is there anybody have any other old business they'd like to bring up? All right, under new business, the request to waive interest on the tax bill.
Okay, this is the property at 280 and 280A on Bayside Road. In March, it was originally a duplex and the current owner purchased it as a duplex, went before the planning board in March of 18 to have it subdivided with the land and condominiumize it into 2 units. Because that happened before April 1st of 2018, it shows on the tax records as 2 units. And each of the units are actually up for sale individually. The owner did not notify his property mortgage holder. So the mortgage holder requested, as all of the electronic ones do, they request bills for a certain list of properties, and the tax collector makes sure they get them. Because the mortgage company didn't ask for it, the mortgage company wasn't aware it was 2 units, the taxes were not paid. It came to the owner's attention just very recently that the bill for 280A had not been paid. Through the tax collector is very good about sending monthly reminders out that the tax bill hasn't been paid, and he had received those. They were mailed and they did not come back to her as undeliverable. So he is now requesting a waiver of the interest due as of the 29th of January of $165.19. I requested the tax collector review it and make her recommendation to the board as well, which you see attached.
Okay, has everybody read the letters and both letters? Comments?
Well, I think this person is a vice president of lending market leader, City National Bank. I think that they would be, should be aware of how the game is played. And I guess I concur with the tax collector that it not be waived.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree.
All right. Any other comments? A motion?
I move not to approve the request from the property owner at 280A Bayside Road to waive the interest on his tax bill.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Alrighty, abatements.
Just one more
Oh,
item.
go ahead.
One more item, new business. I got a contact from a taxpayer today. This is from the owner of property at 8 Fairway Drive, who is having a drainage problem. This is the amount of water that's collecting next to her driveway, and it's not draining into the middle of the cul-de-sac on Fairway Drive. And it would appear, just by looking at picture, that it appears to be a problem in our right-of-way, but I can't say for certain, obviously, without taking a look at plans and things like that. So what I would like to do is refer this drainage issue to Paul Hayden so he can give us a report on February 18th with a recommendation of what corrective action is required and who he thinks is responsible.
Okay, all right. I think you're his liaison.
Yes.
So
I will get that in, with everyone's approval, I'll get that information to him so we can report back on the 18th about what's needed.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now abatements.
Okay.
I guess we have 4 of them, right?
Right, we have 4, and I would prefer that the motions be done individually, only because the way we have one that the recommendation is a denial, and so to keep them straight, it would just be much easier. So the first one is property owned by John and Roberta Weeks and Lisa Holden. It's the property at 678 Bayside Road. And these are for the camps. And the assessor went down there, and based on the seasonal use and the condition, he is recommending that the property be abated by $93,100, so it result in an abatement of $1,563.
Okay. Any comments? I get a motion on that?
Move to approve the abatement.
Second.
Abatement for the property at 678? 678 Bayside Road,
Right, okay, no, that's.
in the amount of $1,563. Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, motion passes.
Okay, the second one is for 670 Bayside Road, a property owned by Just John and Roberta Weeks. The abatement recommended is $361, and this is based on functional obsolescence. There's no heat on the second floor.
Okay. Motion.
Move to approve the abatement for 670 Bayside Road of $361.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
This third one is for the Kimberly Garish Revocable Trust. The property is 00 Liam's Court. This is land that is undevelopable, and it's basically functional obsolescence. During the and it had gone up huge in this rebound. It fell into a category that the computer counted it as a buildable lot. So its assessment had jumped by $50,000. So this is valuing it at a revised assessment still of $204,800.
Okay, motion.
Move to approve the abatement of 00 Liam's Court in the amount of $793.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
The fourth request is for 28 Cherry Drive, a resident requesting an abatement of $500 for his veterans credit. He did not apply prior to the deadline in April. And so when he did apply, it became effective for the 2019 taxes, not the 2018 taxes.
Will we deny this request for abatement?
Second.
All right, just so you know that our assessor said that he would caution not to set a precedence of good cause under RSA 7616, so.
Right. April 1st is pretty much a deadline that we have to stay hard and fast to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he did, I want to say that he applied April 15th, but
Yeah.
it's tough.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. All right, elderly exemption.
This is for a resident at the property at 60 Hillside Drive. A widow, she qualifies based on residency, age, income, and expenses.
And I move we approve the elderly exemption requested by the resident at 60 Hillside Drive.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, let's see.
The next
All right,
one,
we're going to table the...
Yeah, table the bond release. They have requested that it be continued to the next meeting.
Okay. All right, under other new business, we do have a woodcut.
Yeah, and there's a file today was an intent to cut. Selectman Morgan has it.
I do?
Yes.
Sound a little more positive.
It is for the property at Smith Farm. There it is, there it is.
Yes, I do, yeah. Okay.
This is the intent to cut, so that the board approves that if the cut can be done, and upon completion, the logger will send us a report of cut, and that's when any taxes are assessed. I've looked at it, the property is in current use, one is farmland, one is unmanaged, which qualifies for an intent to cut because it's not under the category of unproductive.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yes. And there's signatures on the bottom for it. So it's a motion to approve the intent to cut for map R22 lot 15.
I move to approve the intent to cut for lot,
R22 lot 15.
R22 lot 15.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Yes. They don't give enough lines, but just pick one.
Okay, on to manifests. Yes, ma'am.
Marcia McLaughlin. Vaughn, have you had a chance to read your email since 5 o'clock this afternoon?
No.
You and I both received an email from Attorney Laughlin with the draft documents for the filing for the Cypre. The library trustees will be meeting next week to discuss, what he has produced. And I am asking on our behalf that you all take a look at that prior to your next meeting so that we can work together to get this filed, please.
Okay.
I can tell you, Marcia, that I very briefly looked at the email because I just saw Vaughn's phone when we were sitting at the school meeting. And so I looked through the petition very briefly. A question. To the extent you have two state permits that are required from the Department of Transportation and the Department of Environmental Services, and both of them, as far as I understand it, are requesting that there be a conveyance of property interests, easements.
I'm listening.
Okay. And I did not see in his request for Cypre that there was any approval that would be given to either the trustees or the selectmen to execute those property interests, if in fact they were found to be needed for your permits. And I'm just saying that's an issue to bring up.
Okay.
And get his opinion.
Okay, I will listen carefully to the recording tomorrow morning.
In essence, it appeared neither you as the trustees nor us as the selectmen would have been given permission by his petition to execute any property interest exchanges with the church.
Okay.
The easements.
Easements.
An easement that would allow transportation over their property, and then also the library property for the transportation part, and also an easement for them to discharge subsurface waste in the septic system and for us to allow that.
Okay.
Those would be the deeded property interest.
Okay.
It did not appear those were dealt with.
Okay, we'll check with him.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I haven't read it yet, I haven't had a chance to, so.
Okay.
But yes, we'll follow up on that.
All righty, thank you.
Okay? All right, manifest.
Move we approve the attached manifest, the unpaid bill detailed as of February 7, 2019, in the amount of $659,288.55.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I move we approve the attached payroll number 3, pay date, should be February, it's federal in here. February 7th, 2019, period January 21, 2019, and including February 3rd, 2019. Gross amount excluding payroll liabilities, $56,113.43.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
We
Motion
also have
passes.
to confirm the payroll manifest that the board approved to correct the error on the officer's paycheck in the amount of $1,232.34. It's the one that
So
came
moved.
in to sign.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to enter a non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, 2E, consideration of pending litigation, and ask for a roll call vote.
Sanderson, aye.
Rocky, aye.
Morgan, aye.
Ralston, aye.
Fuzzy, aye.
Okay. Okay, this is in reference to, let's see, where's my paper on that?
Litigation from Northern, the Fairpoint
Fairpoint,
Northern
yeah.
Utility, Northern New England Telephone. You have we have partnered with several towns in this Fairpoint litigation. Donahue, Tucker, and Sandella has been the agency, the legal firm that's representing several towns. They are close to having a settlement for all the towns. They are waiting for one verification on Judge McNamara's decision on his methodology for another town. What we're looking for at this time is not necessarily a total approval. They're just reworking our numbers, and I did see one number that on ours that is wrong, that ultimately it would be a tick less than that. But this would settle 5 tax years for the amount of grand total of $36,421, which is actually a pretty good deal. What has been ruled is that the right-of-way value is not being calculated into Judge McNamara's decision, basically because that has been in the value assessed to Eversource. And that was the part that Fairpoint kind of went back on, is that a lot of it was double taxation.
Okay.
As of 2018, we did not value the right-of-way. But prior to those years, we had been valuing it at approximately $200,000.
Okay, and the attorney's recommendation is to not take any action on the offer at this time?
Right, they are recommending this settlement, but not to take an actual vote until they really take a look at Judge McNamara's numbering and the formula, just to make sure that the rough estimate of ours is correct.
Okay, you have an attorney here, can we get some free advice?
Do people understand the basic nature of this litigation? Maybe not. This has been something that's been going on for over 10 years. And it has to do with the right of utilities to use the right-of-way. Since 1880, the legislature has had a law in place that said we have to give permission to utilities to let them put their equipment in the right-of-way. For many of those years, the only entity that was taxed was the electric company. But when you take a look at a pole is always co-owned between the telephone company and the electric company. And depending on the town, sometimes the electric company's in charge, sometimes the telephone company's in charge. Now look up. We have way more than electricity and telephone on the pole. Electricity's always at the top, telephone's always at the bottom. In the middle, it's called the Wild Wild West. And the entity that controls the poles in that town will allow for uses by other entities. Cable, private companies, it can be alarms in some cities where they have their own fire alarm system, so there's a municipal use. It can be anything and everything that sits in that middle space. And for many, many years, the electric company and the telephone company would never tell the municipalities, A, what was there, or B, what it was worth. In fact, the telephone company had an exemption from taxation up until about 2011, 12, something like that. Anyway, the legislature changed the law, and so there became a requirement to assess the telephone company for the first time. That has been appealed to the Supreme Court at least 3 times. They've been fighting in the legislature for at least 5 sessions. It finally appears to be virtually over, which is good for everybody. And so now it just became a question of what is the value. And if all they're excluding is the value of the right-of-way because it's already in the electric tax,
Right,
fine.
and they're not being classified, and like in our MS1 and the way DRA records it, they do not count Fairpoint as a utility. They're counted as a commercial entity. And that's where the right-of-way question got all skewed and why we can't, or Judge McNamara's ruling that you can't tax on the right-of-way. They're not a utility, they're a business.
Yeah. Okay. So the point is, now this question of taxability is going to be resolved once and for all. That's a good thing for everybody.
Right, it's been hanging over the town's head. We have actually a lot larger number in our audit being held as in potential liability.
Okay.
So this will be a very good thing if they can reach that resolution.
Right.
And that figure seems palatable to you?
Oh, yes. Their estimated 36,000 is a little bit high because on one of the years, they've multiplied the equalization rate out the wrong way. But that's easily corrected.
Okay.
Not a big change.
Right, I just wanted, well, because it needed to be discussed in non-public, so if the board was comfortable with it, when the actual offer of settlement comes in, that's public, that's not done in a non-public.
Okay.
But the discussion of it couldn't have happened then.
Okay. Any questions?
That's all I had on it.
I was going to say, I grossly oversimplified it, but that's pretty much what you would say is an accurate description of the litigation.
Absolutely. And the ruling is basically, you can't count it as utility, you can't count the right-of-way. They're a business renting space on the pole from the utility, and we can tax them as the business on there. The same thing with Comcast, which Greenland will start taxing in 2020, because Todd has just received from Comcast finally the number of connections they have.
Yeah, which they'd always refused to give up before. So you'd never had any idea what was up there in the sky.
Okay. All righty. And then I'll entertain a motion to come out of non-public. Second roll call.
Sanderson, yes.
Durkee, yes. Morgan, yes.
Ralston, yes.
Huzzy, yes. Okay. And do we need to seal these minutes?
No.
I guess I should say that I probably forgot to turn this off, and I did, but
You don't have to put it in, Charlotte, but don't panic, there's nothing like
Yeah, we're not
critical in
sealing them,
there.
so they're gonna be available in 72 hours anyway.
Because it was litigation, it had to be done that way, but it's not a huge.
I think she can cut that out anyway.
Yeah, she can.
Sorry.
Okay.
I can just have that to sign payroll.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I just have a question about you guys here. What is this? We're plowing all night?
I don't know, I haven't seen that, but I'll be glad in
Yeah,
a couple of
it's
minutes.
plowing, it's from, I think, 11:30 at night to
Well,
noon time.
12:30 AM, I'm sure, I guess, till
Yeah.
11:30. Pretty clear in the contract, 7 to 3, normal business hours, unless needed. I don't see any, I don't.
Was it,
saying
is it a
this like that.
Tuesday? What day was,
What's a Wednesday?
it's a Wednesday, it's a dump day.
That doesn't
Okay.
matter to me. I mean, we got big trucks right out there. It's the same argument I've had since I've been here.
Okay.
And it's,
And for the purpose of payroll, did he actually work the hours?
He's salaried exempt, so.
It doesn't.
it's not about money.
Okay, but he was there for that amount of time.
I know that. I'm saying why. That's my question. Why is he out there at midnight?
Okay.
There's no need of that. It says it right in the contract. town employees available normal business hours, basically 7 to 3. If he needs to read the contract and sign it, I'd appreciate that.
I will ask him the question when I contact him on the other matter.
And again, we're snow blowing the sidewalks before the snow's done, before the roads are plowed. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karen, you know, this week's library correspondence, the,
That was just because it came in there's no motion needed, I don't know why they had a motion on there,
All
but
right.
it came in after the last meeting. So some of the board members hadn't seen it. That's the letter that you handed me on Tuesday morning that the trustees brought in that Monday night.
okay.
Just leave us basically one way for them and one way for us, is that
Yeah.
so? I mean, are we trying to be the federal government here or what? Or are we gonna come to,
The bill was actually sent. That was the question was that invoice that we sent the letter to the trustees asking them to reconsider that it come out of the capital reserve fund. That's the response back saying no. And in addition, no to the two bills, which are the Optima Bank cost and bond counsel. So they have said no. So technically, it is still coming out. It's coming out of that capital fund project right now, whether it's general fund has to go back to general fund because it's not authorized on anything yet. But I had asked Liz to hold the check until further notice for that current invoice. And then I found, when I came back on Tuesday, she had mailed it on Monday.
And that came out of what fund? That came out of the bond?
I don't know.
Came out of the bond, I think.
No, nothing has come out of the bond so far.
Well, technically.
I disagree
right.
with that.
It has come out of the bond, or if it's come out of the capital reserve fund, we don't have authorization to take it out of the capital reserve fund.
Right.
So I don't know what the trustees of the trust fund will do.
Well, right now, we have an accounting problem then. The
We
thing
have
is,
a problem,
the
right.
vendor has been paid. The question is which fund?
And how is it authorized? Didn't the board, as a board, decide to hold off until we kicked it back?
Yeah.
Something doesn't add up here. The board said, hold off, don't pay this, send it back to the library trustees, we want it to come out of the Sierra, correct?
Yes.
And somehow, the checks were mailed, the checks that were written out of the bond were authorized to be mailed?
As far as I know, the checks that have gone out have come out of the CRL.
I don't think so.
Nothing out of the bond. That's as far as I know.
Can't be.
In the accounting records, that's how it shows. The only problem is that the Board of Selectmen alone do not have the authority to take it out of the capital reserve fund without the trustees' consent, library trustees' consent. Which we sent them a letter asking them, can you consent? And they said no.
At that point, the bills had already been paid. This is where I'm.
Right, and that's,
Something's wrong here.
right, I wasn't here on that Monday.
Okay, the bookkeeper had the checks,
I had told the bookkeeper to hold the checks until further notice.
and then, so
And
when
when I
did she get
came-
further notice?
When I came in on the Tuesday and we read this letter, I'm like, oh. So
Right.
I went to the bookkeeper and said, still have to hold those checks. Oh, I mailed them.
Under what?
Well, we
under whose
all agreed.
authorization?
Well,
chairman's.
what happened was the board met and they said, where's this money coming from? We all voted to take it out of the capital reserve fund.
Right, but we voted
The
to
library
take it back to the
turned-
library trustees. They
Right.
said no, so the money, so it shouldn't have been paid yet. It should still be sitting somewhere.
I thought initially it was coming out of the bond fund, because that was the discussion.
Right, that's where the checks were written, that's why
I think that came out of the bond fund.
This is,
Well, let's look at this.
who authorized the bookkeeper to send the check?
We authorized her.
I didn't.
No.
I didn't authorize anything. I authorized.
We authorized it
I
at the
voted to
meeting. We said,
I don't
that
think
money's
so.
coming out of the capital reserve fund.
You're wrong, Ron. You're absolutely
All
wrong.
right, hold on.
I was just gonna say this. With regard to a potential dispute between us and the trustees, that is one set of issues. there would have been a potential of a dispute between the town and the vendor. The vendor, in fact, has been paid, so that dispute is gone.
Right.
Now we can sit down amongst ourselves and decide how the accounting should be done correctly. We have a dispute between our two boards on this point, okay? The bond is here, okay? The capital reserve is here. This is an accounting problem, which is something we should calm down about and just move on, okay?
I think a mistake has been made here.
Well, that could be, and it could.
By this board, not,
Well,
that's
then-
what I'm getting at here.
Then at worst, it's an accounting mistake, which is.
I don't think so. I think
which
it's an
is-
authorization mistake.
Okay,
I think the bookkeeper was authorized to mail those checks without the proper authorization. The board, this board asked to give it back to the library. So until we got an answer as a board from the library, nothing should have been mailed. So who told the bookkeeper to mail the check?
I understand is that we authorized it when we
didn't.
at a meeting. That's my understanding. That's where I'm coming from. You're asking me, it was my understanding that the board voted to take the money out of the capital reserve fund.
Okay, so the bookkeeper is on, hold those checks until further notice. So Monday morning, she says, okay, further notice is over. Somebody told, either she took the liberty on her own, or somebody told her.
All right.
I want an answer, Mark.
But don't yell.
I'm not
You
yelling.
don't have to yell.
I'm not yelling. All right, I'm gonna stop.
We'll find out.
I think I'm getting lied to right to my face. I think you're lying to me right to my face, Mark.
I'm lying to you?
think.
How?
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
could we please back this down, guys?
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Okay, but this is
I think it's
also.
shady and slimy.
This is an accounting problem between town funds. The key is the vendor got paid. We will work this out somehow, including if we have to, in that Cypre action, if that ever gets filed, which is gonna be a decision for a new board. It won't
Straight up,
happen.
Chester, you're welcome to your opinion.
I am, and there it is.
All right.
So,
we will work this thing out.
I can tell you that I did not authorize her to send those checks. I
Thank you.
said, hold off based on this until further notice. And I was told they had been mailed, she asked the chairman, should I mail these, and was told yes. So whether there was miscommunication somewhere, I was like, you shouldn't have mailed them.
okay.
It's too late.
Again, but this is an accounting problem. We will work it out.
Whatever.
Or the new board will work it out. With the new board of trustees, whoever that ends up being.
Before I forget, we need to discuss, Alan, the interviews.
Okay? Right.
And we gotta bring Jim up to speed on, what's going on, because he was there at our meeting at the end of the, delivery session.
And I will not be at the next meeting. I don't know when it's gonna come up again, but I'm going to Florida this week.
I'll be
I'll be
there.
gone until the March meeting.
Okay. We are planning to do the interviews on,
The email you showed me was February 19th, or the one I got
18th and
from
19th.
Charlotte was the 19th.
Yeah, I think they only got 2, or maybe 3 at the most.
I think it was selectmen meeting on an 18th and then all interviews on the 19th.
Yeah, he wants to do them in one night, so I don't know which night you guys wanna do it.
Okay. And the only other thing that we mentioned at the meeting, at the end of the deliberative session, was I said I would be willing to participate in the interview process, but I would not be willing to participate in the process of negotiating a new contract. And so I suggested that just to determine the elements that might go into a contract, that we take Karen's and we take the City of Portsmouth contracts just for comparison, so you could look at the things that could be negotiated. And I recommended to everyone that town council be engaged to help in the negotiation of a potential contract if a conditional offer were issued. And that was the extent of our conversation the other day.
okay.
I've got that information.
And I heard from Alan Gold this past weekend, and I told him that we were going to set up the interviews for the 19th and the 20th. It's going to be at 6 o'clock because that's the only time you could make it, right?
With this much notice, I can get back for the 5:30. We can start a little bit earlier.
Let me check with Charlotte, because I think she got something from him today about trying to do it in one. nights.
Trying to do what?
Do the interviews in one night.
Yes, that was the email Charlotte sent out, and she wanted them to do on the evening of the 19th, starting at 5:30. And I'll make myself available at 5:30.
Okay.
I could phone in from Florida.
I was just gonna ask you if you wanted to do that.
Okay. All right, so it's the 19th then.
I just have to know who
And I
I'm
can hang the
phoning.
phone up on him again.
And how many did,
He's got at least two from talking to Charlotte, and I think there may be, maybe three, but it was 6 initially. Okay, I guess the others pulled.
So I'll call into your phone.
yeah. Well, if we're gonna do it here, do you have something, Karen, that we could, how did we do this once before?
A speakerphone? You mean a speakerphone, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, rather than my phone.
Didn't we do it on that phone?
Yeah,
It was
that's-
Kevin Forster hung up on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a speakerphone, they can call into that number.
All right, so we
Yeah,
can
the
get-
phone started ringing, which, instead of putting on a speaker, he just kept hanging it up, and we're like, we give up.
all right, so we can get Charlotte to set that up then.
What's the phone number that I'm gonna call?
Please.
Okay,
And that's at 5:30.
5:30, yep.
I'll have to, there it is. You know, I don't know how to see it on these new phones.
Okay, well,
Charlotte's got a job to do that.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away.
Okay, is there anything else anybody would like to discuss?
Just noting that the planning board meeting is going to be on Thursday evening at the school. Last I knew it was in the library room. I don't know how that's gonna hold, whether it works or not, but at least that's the meeting where the school will be coming with their representatives to talk to our police chief, fire chief, and planning board.
Okay.
So
The
everyone.
library.
I thought you said, yes.
I don't know why they.
Did I
picked the
misspeak?
library.
You said the school would be coming.
I'm sorry. I'm
Library.
getting so tired. I don't know what my name is. The library will be coming.
why
To make the
wouldn't
presentation.
the other room be available? That library doesn't seem to be.
I think it's an acoustics problem is what they're concerned
Right,
about.
but the library won't hold more
The
than this
library
place.
doesn't hold more than this place, so I'll talk to Stu, I'll find out.
Actually, I almost wonder if the cafeteria would be better.
Whatever works, but somewhere in that building where there's enough space. That's the intent. And to have a presentation from the library and their staff and consultants, and as well as our two chiefs and then the planning board. So something will happen there. And then take a look, if you can, at the Cypre things. Does everyone understand what the Cypre is?
You can just run it by us.
Okay. You have a charitable trust, and it has terms that were put onto that trust from the 1880s, 90s. And so they're not working right now because there needs to be some form of exchange where the church gives up something, the town gives up something. We don't have authority to do that without court intervention. And so it is in the form of a lawsuit, but it's a friendly lawsuit. It's saying, court, I can't do my charitable trust the way I need to do today. Reform it to meet the needs I have today by giving me permission to do A, B, C, D, and E. That's what it's about. It is termed Cypres, C-Y-P-R-E-S, which simply is just a Latin term for modifying. Okay, so the trust goes on, but you get permission you otherwise did not have.
And is that a one-time permission?
Yes.
That's also a change, are they doing some of the changes like from the materials they can use too in the construction?
Materials were in that particular draft, yes.
You guys send that email to Charlotte so she can distribute it, Vaughn?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
And again, what I had said to Marcia was when I quickly looked at it, and I just looked at it for 5 minutes over at the school meeting, it did not appear that he was asking for any permission for the selectmen to convey interest to the church or for the church to convey interest to the town. Okay, and without those exchanges of interest, then DOT couldn't grant a permit and DES can't grant a permit because they're not permanent property interests. We shouldn't be doing anything with revocable licenses of this gravity and magnitude. Okay. If you're going to do it, at least do it with an easement.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Okay, all right, we are adjourned.
I have one question though.